Hello. Today, I will demonstrate the proper methods of waste disposal and later present the various equipment that is used in this process. An incinerator is a device used on board ships to burn solid waste such as food waste, paper, and other combustible materials. Incinerators are used to reduce the amount of waste that needs to be stored and disposed of, as well as to reduce environmental impact of the waste. Incinerators are also used to reduce the risk of fire on board ship, as burning the waste eliminates the risk of combustible materials igniting. Grinder are used on board ships to reduce the volume of solid waste that is generated. This is done by grinding the waste into smaller pieces which can then be disposed of more easily. This helps to reduce the amount of waste that needs to be stored on board and also reduce the amount of waste that needs to be disposed of the port. Grinder also help to reduce the risk of blockage in the waste disposal system as the smaller pieces are less likely to cause a blockage. Compressors are used on board ships to compress waste before it is disposed of. This is done to reduce the volume of waste and make easier to store and transport. Compressing the waste also reduces the amount of space it takes up in a waste disposal system, which can help to reduce the risk of blockages. Compressing the waste also helps to reduce the amount of fuel used to transport the waste to shore. Compactors are used on board ships to reduce the volume of waste that needs to be disposed of. This is done by compressing the waste into smaller size, making it easier to store and transport. This reduces the amount of space needed for waste disposal, as well as the cost of disposing of it. Compactor also helps to reduce the risk of fire and other hazards associated with waste disposal. Onboard ship garbage is typically stored in designated areas until it can be disposed properly at a port. The garbage is typically sorted and separated into different categories such as recyclable materials, hazardous waste, and general waste. In order to dispose of the garbage, the ship will need to dock at a port that has the necessary facilities for handling the processing the waste. The garbage will then offloaded from the ship and transported to a waste management facility where it can be properly disposed for recycle. It is important that ships follow proper waste management practices in order to minimize the environmental impact of their operations. This can include measures such as reducing amount of waste generated, properly storing and handling waste on board, and properly disposing of waste at ports.